There's a moment every man faces, that silent second where you realize she stopped chasing, stopped texting, stopped caring, and in that moment, something inside you whispers, "What did I do wrong?" But here's the truth nobody tells you. Sometimes the only way to draw a woman back is to disappear long enough for her to hear the echo you left behind. Most men never learn this. They panic the moment a woman pulls away. They beg, they over-explain, they send those long paragraphs they regret the second they hit send. And every time they do, they crush the one thing women subconsciously crave from a man, the sense that he is grounded, stable, and centered in his own world. As a psychologist, I've watched thousands of women lose interest the moment a man loses his inner gravity, but I've also watched them come running back the moment that gravity returns. No contact isn't a trick, and it isn't punishment, it is a recalibration. It removes the noise so she can finally feel what life is like without you. Because here's the psychological truth men rarely hear from women themselves. When a woman feels emotional space, it doesn't push her away. It triggers curiosity. Curiosity becomes reflection. Reflection becomes longing. And longing becomes movement back in your direction. But no contact works only when you work during it. Silence without self-growth is just absence. Silence with strength becomes presence. And presence is what women chase. When you step back not from fear, but from confidence, her mind starts scanning through memories of you, the good, the bad, the magnetic moments she didn't appreciate enough. She starts noticing tiny voids in her day that used to be filled with your voice, your humor, your energy. Psychology calls it the attachment gap, the brain's natural discomfort with losing a predictable emotional source. And this discomfort is what quietly turns your silence into a gravitational pull. But here's the twist. A woman doesn't chase because you vanished. She chases because your absence feels different from every other man she's known. It feels intentional. It feels grounded. It feels like a man who can walk away from anything except his own standards. Your job is not to make her miss you. Your job is to become the version of you she can't forget, even in silence. A woman begins to chase not when you pull away, but when she realizes she no longer has access to the version of you she once took for granted. And this shift happens quietly, beneath her logic, beneath her pride, beneath the face she shows the world. Every woman has a moment where she sits with herself and feels a sudden sting of uncertainty. Did I lose a man I wasn't supposed to lose? That moment is where the chase begins. But a man only reaches that moment if he understands what truly happens in a woman's mind during silence. When communication stops, her brain doesn't shut off, it accelerates. Women replay emotional details more intensely than men. They analyze tone, memory, patterns, small gestures, the way you listened, the way you held your boundaries, the way you made her feel when she wasn't sure of herself. And when she notices your silence is firm, calm, and not fueled by impulsiveness or anger, something powerful happens. She starts doubting her assumptions. Doubt is the first crack in her emotional armor. This is where most men sabotage themselves. They think the goal is to show her you don't care. But indifference isn't attractive. Stability is. Direction is. Self-respect is. A woman doesn't chase a man who shuts down emotionally. She chases a man who stays emotionally available to life, but not overly available to her. Your silence shouldn't say, "I don't need you." Your silence should say, "I'm becoming someone you'd want to come back to," if you're wise enough to see it. This is why working on yourself during no contact isn't optional. It's the engine of attraction. When she sees subtle changes, your posture, your focus, your social energy, your drive, she can feel it even through a screen. Women are intuitive. They can sense when a man is rising, and nothing triggers pursuit more than the realization that the man she once knew is evolving without her. Slowly, her pride becomes pressure. Her curiosity becomes anxiety. Her silence becomes uncomfortable. She checks your social presence. She wonders who you're talking to. She imagines you moving on. And that's when she begins chasing. Not out of fear of losing you, but out of fear of losing the upgraded, grounded version of you she wasn't prepared for. And the irony? You're no longer chasing her, because now You're busy becoming the man she hoped you'd never become without her. A woman starts chasing when she can feel the shift in your energy, long before she ever sees it. And that shift begins the moment you stop trying to convince her of your worth and start living in a way that proves it without saying a word. Women are deeply sensitive to emotional contrast. The man you were when things fell apart is not the man she will chase. The man she chases is the one who rises in the silence, the one who rebuilds the parts of himself he abandoned while trying to keep her interested. That version of you is who she's drawn to, not the version that needed her approval, but the version who outgrew it. During no contact, you're not waiting, you're transforming. You're reconnecting with your ambitions, your discipline, your social instincts, your inner fire, and you must understand something powerful. Women don't chase potential, they chase progress. They chase evidence. They chase emotional momentum. When a woman senses that your life is expanding, that your world is getting bigger, and that your presence is becoming sharper, her attraction rises naturally. Not because she's jealous, not because she's insecure, but because she feels your masculine trajectory again. And this is the internal conflict she won't admit. She didn't expect you to handle the distance with strength. She expected you to crumble a little. She expected your identity to revolve around her. But your calm silence challenges her perception. It makes her rethink her assumptions. It destabilizes the narrative she told herself about you. And in psychology, that destabilization triggers pursuit because the brain seeks to resolve uncertainty. A rising man creates uncertainty. She scrolls through memories. She replays the best moments. She wonders why you're so quiet, why you haven't reached out, why you're not trying to fix it. And that wondering turns into emotional pressure. Pressure turns into curiosity. Curiosity turns into desire. This is where the chase begins, not when she fears losing you, but when she begins realizing she might have underestimated you. The key is that your growth must be genuine, not staged, not forced, not posted for attention. A woman chases when she senses authentic expansion, when your life speaks for you louder than your words ever did, when your silence feels like strength, not spite. The moment a woman begins to chase is almost invisible from the outside, but unmistakable on the inside. It starts with a tiny emotional pull she tries to ignore, an urge to check your profile, a sudden memory that hits her while she's driving, a question that slips into her mind at night. Why hasn't he reached out yet? That question is powerful because it flips the dynamic. You're no longer reacting to her. She's reacting to you. And the more she feels that shift, the more she starts examining her own behavior through a lens she didn't expect. Women don't chase because a man disappears. They chase because his absence changes the emotional temperature. When you were available, she could predict your responses. She knew your rhythm. She knew your patterns. But now she feels something unfamiliar. Your silence has depth to it. It feels grounded, intentional, almost magnetic. She senses that you're not avoiding her. You're elevating yourself. That difference hits harder than any message you could send. Psychologically, this taps into a phenomenon called value reevaluation. When the brain loses familiar access to someone who provided emotional stability, it begins reassessing their importance. It scans for moments when you added meaning to her life, your calm energy, your presence, your humor, the way you made stressful days feel lighter. These memories grow stronger when you're not around, not weaker, and that's what begins to pull her back. But here's the truth most men don't hear. She will only chase if your silence is matched by your evolution. If your life looks the same, feels the same, and moves the same, she has no emotional impulse to return. But when she senses you're becoming more confident, more selective, more in control of yourself, it forces her to confront an uncomfortable thought. You're becoming the kind of man another woman would be lucky to have. And that realization does something deep inside her. Her mind starts comparing her past version of you with the man she imagines you might be now. If the imagined version feels stronger, sharper, more masculine, she starts chasing to close the gap between her assumptions and your reality. She needs to see who you've become. She needs to know if she still has a place in your world. She needs to know if she still matters. A woman truly begins to chase when your energy no longer revolves around her. yet still holds the calm confidence of a man who knows his worth. That's the part that shakes her, not the silence itself, but the stability you show inside it. Because when a man stays centered without confirmation, without reassurance, without the need to be chosen, something inside her awakens. It's a mix of admiration, curiosity, and a quiet fear that she might have walked away from a man who was just beginning to step into his prime, and that fear is what pulls her back into your orbit. But here's the part most men never understand. She doesn't come back for the attention you used to give her. She comes back for the discipline you found without her. She comes back because your emotional tone changed. You stopped chasing validation. You stopped trying to fix everything. You stopped trying to interpret her every mood. And instead, you started pouring that energy into yourself, your body, your mindset, your ambitions, your mission. Women feel that shift in ways men often can't see. They sense the emotional recalibration. They can tell when a man is anchoring himself. And this is exactly why she starts moving toward you. She wants to feel that new version of you up close. She wants to see if the strength she senses is real. She wants to know whether the man she walked away from has become someone she can admire again. Women chase the feeling of emotional safety, and a man who grows during silence radiates a different kind of safety, one rooted in clarity and self-respect. But when she does come back, whether it's a small message, a subtle check-in, or a sudden wave of warmth, you must remember this. The point of no contact was never to get her back. The point was to get yourself back. Because the version of you that she chases is the version that no longer needs to be chased himself. And if you choose to reconnect, it must come from strength, not scarcity, intention, not impulse. So now the real question shifts from, will she chase? To something far more powerful. Is she worth the man you're becoming? That's the question that puts you back in control. That's the question that builds a mindset women naturally gravitate toward. If you're ready for your next breakthrough, tell me in the comments. If she came back today, would you actually want her? Yes or no? And why? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with a man who needs this truth in his life.